Rudy Giuliani created a firestorm with his comments over the weekend about the president's powers, his legal powers, his constitutional powers. A little bit of journalistic overreaction there, as I'll explain in a moment. But then just as there was any danger of it dying down, the president took to the Twitter, and now we have a full-blown debate, really with a lot of ratcheted up rhetoric. All right, so Rudy's on 2 Sunday shows. He goes on ABC's This Week. George Stephanopoulos asks him, in addition to can the president be indicted? Giuliani says no, that's been the position. Can the president obstruct justice? Well, Giuliani says we don't believe he did, although the leaked document from the Trump legal team to the Mueller team says that a president can obstruct justice because he can fire anybody he wants in investigation. But here's where we hit the hot button. Stephanopoulos says to the former mayor, does the president have the power to pardon himself? And Rudy says he's not, but he probably does. He has no intention of pardoning himself. Not exactly the most inflammatory answer. Over at NBC, Meet the Press, Chuck Todd asked the same question. Here's Rudy's response. Well, it's not going to happen. So it's a hypothetical point. But nevertheless, despite the fact, and look, Giuliani could have said, I'm not going to answer hypothetically, he could have deflected it, but he's a feisty former prosecutor who likes to engage in these legal debates. Nevertheless, lots of headlines. Trump can pardon himself, lawyer says, even though Giuliani said it's not going to happen. But then Giuliani also spoke away from the cameras to the Huffington Post. And here's where he really stepped in it. He says, making the same argument about indictment and culpability and pardoning. If he shot James Comey, he'd be impeached the next day. Impeach him and then you can do whatever you want to him. Well, I mean, people went nuts over this. Shot James Comey. Of course, this was a play on the president's famous campaign comment about he was riding so high that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen. Now, was the former mayor of New York City seriously suggesting that the president has the right to murder people without consequence? No, he was not. He was trying to make a legal point. It was a dumb analogy, and of course, it set everything on fire. So, yesterday morning, of course, you could probably set your watch on this. President goes on Twitter, picks up the point. He says, according to numerous legal scholars, I have the absolute right to pardon myself, pardon in all caps. But why would I do that when I have done nothing wrong? Now that is not just, his lawyer on a couple of talk shows, President of the United States, saying, yes, I have the right to pardon myself. Of course, that is going to push the story into the stratosphere, even as the president couples that by saying that he doesn't have any plan to do that. And then this one, which is a whole new legal ballgame, the first time I've seen anyone associated with his side make this argument. The appointment of the special counsel is totally unconstitutional. Now, I've lived through a lot of these independent counsels, going back to Iran-Contra and Lawrence Walsh, Ken Starr, and the Clinton-Whitewater Monica investigation, and others. And there was a real debate whether that law, which Congress let lapse, more than a decade ago, was or was not constitutional. But the special counsel law, look, what happened is the president's own appointee, as Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, took a look at the situation, and he appointed Bob Mueller. He authorized the special counsel investigation. He has said publicly that Mueller is staying within the legal bounds. So why exactly is the president now challenging the unconstitutionality? And here's my theory. I think when Rudy does this kind of stuff and when the president does this kind of stuff, they are trying to raise the stakes, raise the rhetoric, knowing full well the press will go crazy. The press will overreact. There'll be a great debate. Can he pardon himself? Can he shoot someone? And all of that. And that creates a lot of partisan noise. And the more partisan noise there is on both sides, the more it, from the Trump point of view, obscures the more fundamental questions. Did he obstruct justice? Did he do anything wrong? Is there any collusion? No evidence so far in this long investigation, or not very substantial evidence. So now we're all arguing about hypothetical stuff. And of course, he could also be laying the groundwork to refuse a Mueller subpoena to testify on these grounds. The stakes are getting higher. The rhetoric is getting hotter. I don't believe this is any accident. I believe this is an aggressive, coordinated strategy. But when the president's lawyer just says, look, he's not going to pardon himself, but he does arguably have the power to do that, I don't think that requires the media to go to DEFCON 1. But that's pretty close to where we are now.